which challenge shaped you the most in life?
My biggest challenge actually was my husband.
Okay.
He was amazing but very difficult pioneer of Auroville.
Okay. Have you tried healing or helping your husband?
I've tried, but it's not recommended, Yeah. Therapy works on the basis that the other person is ready to change.
Intention. If you still want your friends and family with you, don't try to be their therapist or healer. Refer them to somebody else who's professional. That's much better so that you can still keep them as family and friends. Is there a story or something that comes into mind with respect to the homeopathy wherein you have seen radical transformation on top of your head?
So many, but let's say this little child who was not talking, 3.5, 4 years old. And he was just, the mother came and said, look, he's like hanging on me as if he wants to climb back into the womb.
Oh.
So we started the treatment and he also had asthma. So I gave him some homeopathic for the birth situation. The birth situation was traumatic. Also with some special remedies from the West, which healed trauma. And then I came back after 3 months from Europe from my teaching. And she came with her boy and she said, look what happened. He's fine, no asthma, and he's, totally normal and he's talking a lot.
He's talking. I've also heard this sometimes that, the kind of clients that you attract is usually a reflection of you.
Of course. So why do people feel like they have to do a service to others? Why they...
Yeah.
I also had this, come and I will be of service to you. I had this majorly.
People who have dedicated their life, 10, 20, 30 years of their life to a particular modality, and the intention with which they do their practice, so divine. Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Soul Talks podcast. So Soul Talks podcast is your space to pause, reflect, and heal a little bit along with us on this journey. And here we'll be having personal one-on-one conversations with people at a soul level. So our first guest today is someone very close to my heart. She is the founder of Jiva Auroville. She is a homeopath and also an integral regression therapist and Jiva breathwork trainer as well. She is none other than Sigrid Lindemann from Auroville. Welcome to Soul Talks. So, first and foremost, thank you for coming on our show. And this is something that, I always wanted to have this conversation with you because you have changed my life. I can't begin to tell you how my life is transformed after meeting you. So this is one way of me showing the world how you can transform a life, especially the one that is wounded. So thank you so much for coming. So first and foremost, I'd like to ask you, how would you describe your work to people, to the audience?
My work is to transform. My work is to open up people to their own inner wisdom and to enlarge their perspectives so they can heal, they can become creative, and they can enter the flow of life fully and do what they have to do in this life. So I'm just somebody to be there with a bit of a mirror for this process to happen naturally.
Great. What do you think is the major blockage with respect to, people right now? What is the major course?
See, universe is always perfect. The flow of life is always perfect. If things are not perfect for you, then where you're resisting, where you're not reading the signs, where you have fixed your mind in a certain position of how things should be happening with your ego consciousness. And where are you out of sync with the bigger picture? That is the question.
So the rigidness is the one that is blocking the blessings or the flow of life.
Yeah, the rigidness first in the mind. Then, of course, automatic emotional responses.
Yeah.
And then finally, rigidness in the body, body energy being blocked here, there. We call it disease eventually.
Great. If somebody has to, pause for a moment, what would you like us to notice inside?
You can just notice the big inner deep silence which is with all of us. You can. If not, just be aware of your breathing.
Sometimes the pause always brings not silence, noise.
So if it's noise means you need to pause longer because the need to process. Things are stirring up inside
Yeah.
and you're just going ahead with your stuff while things haven't settled. So you need to pause a bit longer. Take time to be and maybe switch off your phone 2 hours a day. Yeah, 2 hours a day, no phone. How would that be? How much time you have, sir?
I think people more than oxygen need their phone or the Wi-Fi to work.
Yeah, but there should be 2 hours where you're just, in your own space, not heading out.
People are too addicted to phones and gadgets right now. It's again a coping mechanism to run away from self, I believe. So, guys, this is your first reflection. 1, pause for a moment and breathe in the silence and see whether it's noise or melody. Yeah, correct. So, yeah, that is your first reflection. So, coming to, your journey, I want to first start with your journey to Orwell and how it all started.
Actually, I think I had no choice.
You had no choice.
I'm born in Germany, but early on, I wanted to dance, but nothing of what I saw in dance was what I was actually connecting to.
Okay.
And I wanted to come to India and met a few people on the way before coming here. And when I reached India and when we left Mumbai on that night bus to Goa, I was just crying for hours.
Crying?
Because I felt I'm coming home.
Wow.
So I've always felt here more at home than in Germany.
Amazing.
And of course, I had many questions. Why is this like this?
Uh-huh.
And these questions come up, anywhere I go. So where are you from? Yeah. So, of course, then I came across past lives. I came across reading also Mother Three Windows and work in Orwell. I came to Orwell for 4 days and felt like, I'm going to make my life here. Wrote all my friends letters which never arrived that time. I said, let's all come here. You all want a different life. It's happening. Okay.
Your family was supportive during that move?
My family somewhat trusted me.
Okay.
Didn't ask too many questions, and then I was gone.
They didn't have time to process it.
Then later they came.
Okay.
They sent for some friends came, and the friends, after getting comfortable, then said, actually, your parents told me to take you back. I'm like, how dare they? Yeah, but now I'm a mother myself, so I understand a bit better that obviously they would like me to come back.
Yeah.
But the universe had its plan. So now for 20 years, I've been going back to Germany and teaching homeopathic doctors, staying with my family, spending more time with them.
Amazing.
Than my sister who, lives a little far. So they got me back.
Oh, they got you back.
Anyway, part of the year. Few weeks here and there.
Awesome. And who were your early mentors? And what awakened inside you after meeting them?
See, Chance wanted it to land in Orwell, and in Orwell I had no mentor. I remember a breakdown day when then somebody where we were staying came to me and very gently said, we went all through this. So this moment of breakdown of the ego when you're completely surrendered to being here. I found it a bit gross because it was not, no hugs, no caresses, no, oh, poor you, nothing of this. Just very plainly, we all went through this but yeah, it was a good lesson. And then I had a friend with whom I started homeopathy. Then my big mentors are Dr. Shankran and his team in Mumbai, with whom I studied homeopathy. What I'm teaching, I learned from him. And Yuvraj Kapadia from Eka, with whom I studied transpersonal regression therapy beside the teachers in Holland. They are both excellent teachers. I'm probably from a past life, not from this life, that have people who are, well advanced and could share.
So if you had to send one message to your younger self who was about to come to Auroville, what would you give her right now? Like, what kind of message would you give her now?
I would say you'll be very surprised and it's going to be beautiful.
Great, amazing. Which challenge shaped you the most in life?
My biggest challenge actually was my husband.
Okay.
He was amazing but very difficult pioneer of Auroville.
Okay.
And yeah, many questions needed to be solved. And I think it shaped me who I am today. It made me from a very gentle, service-oriented, young lady to somebody who can take on people, who can take on challenges, who's standing firmly. And so, okay, come, let's see.
Yeah.
So thanks to him.
I think people kind of underestimate whenever they have a partner that's a difficult partner, or as you call it, toxic partner. They kind of think that, that is the end of life, or, I'm having a bad life, or things are just going down the drain. But actually, that is your stepping stone. That's what people don't realize it. Even for me, I think that has been my stepping stone to where I am right now. And as you see your story, I feel the same. So yeah, guys, if you have something that you're going through, any relationship that is difficult that you think, it is actually your chance to grow and evolve. That's it. It's not there to cause you any kind of pain. And one more question I would like to add to that. Have you tried healing or helping your husband?
Of course, I always tried, even say for self-defense. I mean, that's a bit harsh word, but to improve the situation for all of us, including my daughter. But he was, as usual, husbands are very resistant. A bit of homeopathic pass, and I've tried, but it's not recommended. Therapy works on the basis that the other person is ready to change.
Intention.
So if you want somebody else to change, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Even putting some bark flowers into glasses and then you end up drinking this glass yourself. But so
True.
There's no way of making anybody change except they themselves.
Yeah.
And if you're a budding therapist, better team up with people who send you people. Don't try on your friends and family. You have a specific human-to-human contact and specific roles also you have in your family. You can't suddenly be the therapist. It doesn't work. The people want to stay in that contact. They love you.
Yeah.
And therapy means a radical brush to the ego for everyone. They didn't sign up for this issue.
No. So they have a different role in our life.
Yeah. My daughter was my biggest teacher in this. Every now and then, like, Mom, you're my mom. You're not my therapist, okay?
So lovely.
I think good. She was clear on you. Yeah. So we decided, I said, okay, if ever I feel from the therapist point of view, when she was in her late teenagers or early adulthood, I could obviously see many things where she could benefit from some support from me or others. Then I said, okay, I'll announce it to you. Are you ready to hear from me as a therapist? Please let me know when you're ready. Sometimes she was never ready. But
amazing. That's a boundary. That's a beautiful boundary.
Yeah. She demanded it, and it's actually now.
Who she demand?
It's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to have your mother and your therapist on you 24/7?
Nobody.
Unbearable.
Mother alone, it's too much at times. So them being the therapist, it could be overwhelming. Definitely for a child. I think my daughter has gone through similar. So yeah, I can vouch for that. And I'd like to reiterate, this is something that I've heard in my early stages as well, that you should never be try to be a therapist or heal your close family and friends. Unfortunately, I did not take that advice in the initial stages because I wanted everybody to get better around me. I ended up doing the same thing to my friends and family. And particularly, I lost them. In short, I lost them. I lost them as in they're in contact with me, but I lost them as family. I lost them as friends. Now they contact me when they need me. They contact me when they have a problem. So I kind of feel like, you can ask how I am doing as well once in a while. And they're like, you're doing fine. You'll be doing great, but just help us with this. So yeah, please guys, if this is something of a thumb rule, if you still want your friends and family with you, don't try to be their therapist or healer. Refer them to somebody else who's professional. That's much better so that you can still keep them as family and friends. it's a lesson learned the hard way for me. So moving to the next first modality, I would say it's the advanced homeopathy sensation method. So I wanted to understand first, like, how does that work? How does this modality try to cater to a soul rather than a symptom? Usually people go for treating the symptom. So how does this cater to a soul?
See, in advanced homeopathy, we have a 2-hour deep intake session, not a 5-minute. We don't ask for symptoms. We go with symptoms to the whole persona. We go to your experience of your inner core, this experience which is within you and which reflects outwardly in your thoughts, your mindsets, your emotions, and in your body. Everything is one. Yeah, the body is your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
It's not separate. No disease falls from the sky. It's just your body expressing what your mind tries to forget. Sense of homeopathy in the constitutional prescribing means one remedy which is for you for many years, even for your life, is to support you in your self-healing any moment you need it, to set you up to be able to follow the purpose of your life. The founder of homeopathy expressed this very beautifully 200 years ago, that the human being is bound to follow the purpose of their life, and the homeopathic should help you align to it. And in constitutional prescribing, there's one remedy from nature, animal, plant, mineral kingdom, which is like your talisman from nature,
Okay.
which being given at birth or maybe before,
Okay.
and which is with you all along, and which takes over when you need extra energy. So you have maybe a visionary dream as a child,
Maybe. Yeah.
or you love rabbits so much, or you're just always collecting rose quartz because you just feel that energy so well with you.
Yeah.
Whatever is very individual as a resource for you,
connected
to your homeopathic remedy from nature. So
For
in
nature.
our method, the 2-hour intake is meant to uncover what you already know, what you're already busy with every day,
Yeah.
but to, tag it and say, this is your talisman from nature. This is your healing plant. And then you have it in homeopathic form. And I have mine. That's why I became a homeopath. I have mine since 38 years.
38 years old.
So whenever I need a little extra boost, whenever I need a bit of extra energy, whenever I need to harmonize my being, I take. And few minutes later, I'm feeling, okay, good. I'm feeling grounded. I'm feeling calm inside.
Yeah.
The pain is subsiding. The emotions are calming down. Is my husband? This was called a very good support.
Yeah.
But even physically,
Yeah.
it has been a support, and I've not seen much of doctors at all. No expenses for us because these little pills
save you. Yeah. It kind of puts you in a equilibrium.
So I wanted to become a homeopath because I saw so many miracles happening that I thought, okay, how is this? My research or my adventure of consciousness was, very much passionate about finding out, and I could never imagine it would be 38 years of my life every day. But this is what happened.
Yeah. But I think that's something does work. I have been using it for a while, and I could see the immediate response. The response in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. It's been more than a year now. I think close to 2 years now. I think radical changes, right? I mean, I'm evolving. That's one thing. I think you've taken sessions for my daughter as well as my ex-husband as well. I think both of them were at least open enough to, start with this remedy, and it has created wonders with respect to them being grounded in their own truth, right? That is a basic step to living your life, to be grounded in your own truth. So that's something that I think accomplished with that, because it's very less effort needed apart from taking the pill. You just need to take the pill on time or whenever that is prescribed. But sometimes that itself becomes a difficult task when you're living a lie. You're not living a life, you're living a lie. Is there a story or something that comes into mind with respect to the homeopath, wherein you have seen radical transformation, or some story that you can think of out of your head?
So many, but let's say this little child who was not talking, 3.5, 4 years old, and the mother came and said, look, he's like hanging on me as if he wants to climb back into the womb. Oh. And he was not making eye contact, and she was very worried because he was getting fall. So we started the treatment, and he also had asthma. So I gave him some homeopathic for the birth situation. The birth situation was traumatic, and he was again like climbing back into the womb. Also with some special remedies from the West, which heal trauma. And then I came back after 3 months from Europe from my teaching, and she came with her boy and she said, "Look what happened. He's fine, no asthma, and he's totally normal, and he's talking a lot." He's talking. I said, "So what did you do?" And she said, "What therapy? What all did you do in those 3 months?" I thought she must have gone to somebody else. So many. I said, "No, I just gave you a remedy every Sunday." Amazing. And now everything is gone. And then she showed me the drawing. So this little boy made 2 times on a Monday, 2 times similar drawing, mom, dad, his elder brother, and he in the womb. Now tell me, he knows. He could express himself. He could express that he reconfigured his birth, and he realized that he is born.
So that process was still stuck. The birth trauma was the birthing process was not done properly, wherein he was stuck in that moment, and then now with the remedy, it helped him being born.
Yes.
Born. Yeah, not just physically, but the energetic born.
Yeah.
Amazing. Also, this thing I wanted to ask, when do you refer? Like when you are going through a homeopathic session, you come across a lot of things. You discover a lot of things or patterns. It's a 2-hour intake, as you said. So when do you refer people to some other session or or someone else?
If people come for healing, for transforming, for getting better in the health, they can do many things, and they should be doing many things. Of course, homeopathy should not be a shortcut to avoid medical investigations. That is always recommended. You can't just ignore physical reality and saying somebody else should do a miracle on me. I'm not.
This is preventive. This is more like precautionary. I don't think this is.
No, you also need to know, is this going to heal fast, slow? You need a proper diagnosis. What are you treating? You should know that. If you don't want to see that as a patient, what is really the issue with you? How you want to get better? You want to stay in illusion. Your body shows, your subconscious shows. Your antibodies on the thyroid show, that there's a conflict. So you need to be aware. You need to say, okay, this is me. I'm carrying this around with me. This is how it is. And then, of course, I refer to dance. I refer to Aviva method for hormonal issues. I refer to family constellation if there's many family issues which are counterproductive to health.
Awesome. Yes. So very rarely, in my journey as well, I've rarely seen people who refer people for other modalities. Most of them just say this is whole and soul, this is the only remedy, or this is the only modality that will work for you. But you're one person I've seen who is open to other modalities and even suggest going to other people as well and, working with other things, even if, yours has working or not, right? Again, it's, even if as a complementary process, I would say. It's more about, a complementary modality which helps them be better in a shorter span in a more safer space.
I know what I can do exactly with my modalities, and I know what others can do. And Auroville, we have the chance to have so many very experienced international therapists.
People who have dedicated their life, 10, 20, 30 years of their life to a particular modality, and the intention with which they do their practice, so divine, so much of service mindset, right? I think any day the intention of helping others and that service mentality would create miracles than somebody who might be doing it as a profession. Or maybe
it's always a vocation, but in Auroville we are here because of also the integral yoga of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and they have given us a large knowledge base, a large base for meditation, so many ways to practice in your yoga with the Matra Mandiya as a resource, and this is in the background of anybody practicing. And it also says that people can dive into their own resources and healing majorly. For healing. That is the basis also in integral yoga, that the inner inquiry brings about healing. So everybody here knows that they are just a mirror, somebody igniting self-healing, encouraging self-healing, but the healing has to come from the soul level of the person.
I think that's more beautiful. The fact that they know that the inner wisdom is already there and they're just facilitators.
Yes.
And most of the time, sometimes, when you're in a position of doing a service where people treat you like, you have all the knowledge, it's very easy for the ego to take over. And that sometimes derails the purpose, right, of igniting something inside you. Everybody has the wisdom. So I think this is something that you mentioned, right? Why do people heal?
Yes. So why do people feel like they have to do a service to others? Why they?
Yeah.
I also had this, come and I will be of service to you. I had this majorly.
Yeah.
And but then why? What in you is there? Why you have to do good? Why you have to do good to people?
Yes.
You can, but why you feel obsessed with this? Why you ask people, what is your problem? What is your problem? Because then you have to do something.
Yeah.
So by offering healing very, let's say, outgoingly, you're inviting others people's problem to approach you.
Yeah.
And you might get overwhelmed. But even more importantly, in your own soul's journey, this moment of offering healing might be just the opposite of what happened earlier. I have my own experience in this, and we had big discussions in my training as regression therapists on this, that if you feel compelled to heal, you might be trying to do something good for something bad you did in another life.
Oh.
And when I cracked this one, and when I experienced myself as somebody doing bad to people,
Okay.
and we did a full session on this, suddenly for 3 weeks I had no patients. Nobody cared. Because now the compulsion was gone.
The compulsion to heal. I have to heal.
I have to. You
No.
come, I do. I send you the homeopathic remedies across the planet. I'm there. Just tell me. You can mail me anytime. This is what I was doing.
Yeah.
And suddenly,
No visions.
you can offer, but you don't need to. You can spend your last 3 weeks. It was beautiful. I did completely different things. I realized how much of my time and energy goes for others, and how much I need to resource, and how much I need to experience myself and to grow myself, having time for myself, going for flowers, planting trees, going for dance, enjoying music.
Amazing.
I can also just live.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
I don't need to.
Yeah, need to. I think the drive that many people right now have with respect to have to help others, to heal others, have to be of service somewhere. It's so driven. Sometimes it's also just you undoing some karma, undoing some karma that you have done in the past. Just want to, make amends and make sure, you're undoing that, clearing that aspect. But once you realize that this is the main purpose of it, then sometimes that urge subsides and it's more like a offering.
Yeah.
And desperation goes away, which is beautiful. Don't need to be desperate while offering something. Then, yeah.
You'll also see that the kind of clients you attract after this shift will be quite
amazing. Yes. I've also heard this sometimes that, the kind of clients that you attract is usually a reflection of you.
Of course.
Right?
No inch of game in this.
Yeah.
This is how.
Yeah. Because I keep seeing many people, even doctors, therapists and healers, they keep complaining. Why I do get, these kind of clients, always I'm getting these, this marriage problem or this problem or something, parental issues. So why? Because you have not cleared it. So once you clear it, again, you will see the shift in your clients as well. And particularly, you will also start attracting a different dimension of clients, which might be again the next step for you to heal. Of course, it's always a ladder up.
See, on learning about humanity, spirituality, healing, you're on fast track if you're a therapist. Yeah, imagine your experience in 10 years in this to somebody who's sitting on a desk for 10 years. How much have you learned every day? How much you have experienced life, how healing happens. You have experienced how the divine intervenes. You have seen somebody's completely different mindset and finding themselves. I mean, what a blessing. I like my work every day.
Yep,
every day. And of course, because I was teaching homeopaths in Germany, I'm still teaching homeopaths in Germany, but less. There are few left in Germany who want to study homeopathy, unlike in India. But I'm so happy I could just for 10, 20 years just completely give service to the Auroville community members and then going to work sometimes on the year. Yeah.
This is something that you've created on your own, the integral regression therapy, which I was also a part of. So I wanted to ask you, what was missing that you wanted to bring this modality, together? Like, what pieces were you putting together while making this?
See, I did this big training in TASO, transpersonal regression therapy, which
Mhm.
comes from Holland.
Okay.
And itself, it's already a complex modality integrating elements of hypnotherapy, NLP, energy healing, aura healing, trauma work, somatic experiencing, breath work. It's a well composed technique, complex technique, which can address accident trauma, which can address other traumas, childhood traumas, which can address prenatal experiences, and of course past lives,
Yeah.
and much more, even origin of the soul. It's a very advanced technique, and I'm blessed with Yuvraj Kapadia to have had such an amazing teacher. However, when I was sitting in the course, I did the practitioner, supervisor, trainer, teacher training. I felt like the backbone of all this, I know all too well from the writings of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So much of what was taught, and even some of the techniques, have been described by them. So I did the teacher training because I wanted to offer this from Auroville with the understanding of integral yoga in the back. And for a few years, I did a research in the writings, and to my surprise, I found even hands-on techniques described by them, which we were then presented in the training. Or I found, deeper explanations, deeper philosophy of certain issues like incarnation, like what happens at the moment of death in a past life.
Yeah.
So it has been a very fruitful research. And additionally, of course, with my experience in advanced homeopathy for 20 plus years, some of it also has come into integral regression therapy. So I'm very happy now to offer training beside the session in integral regression therapy. I've decided not to start with a shorter module on trauma therapy because I think it's so needed in India. I've many people come, they have a trauma issue, but then they try pranayama, it helps a bit. They try meditation, but it's very difficult. They do yoga, it also helps a bit. But none of it, frankly, is a trauma therapy.
Yeah.
True. In the West, we have many somatic oriented trauma therapies, but in India, it's not yet very common. And being so long in India, I feel like this is what I offer: trauma therapy, training in trauma therapy for psychologists, healers, because there's so much trauma, so much has to be overcome. India's in a cultural transition between the grandparents, the parents, and the young adults. Society has shifted a lot, and there's a lot of hurt of the different mindset.
One of the major thing that I also notice is that there is trauma work, right, that is happening. There's also inner child, which is a major part of that particular modality, that you explore. Energy consciousness, energy awareness, particularly with respect to while in the session. That is also, and post session as well. That is also very beautifully taken care of. Past life, again, a very sensitive topic. And many a times people think past life is something they want to explore out of curiosity. Again, this is not something like, again, you don't know what you're venturing into. But when you go into past life, unless and until there's something that is blocking you, that's something that I've learned from you. Then, you kept saying there's something blocking you from living your life to the fullest. That should be the issue that you're addressing, not your fantasies and what I want to just know. I want to just have a peek into my past life. That doesn't work. It has to be a conscious decision with respect to you getting better. So past life is something that I want you to probably throw some light on with respect to also the part about the conscious way of death or dying, right? Because that's a new topic that I have learned from you, post which I'm an advocate of not just being a life coach, but also a death coach, because conscious way of dying as well as helping other people around you to process death, that is a conscious thing that you have. That is a day-to-day life. How many people you would have seen, closed ones, passing away? So for you to deal with their closed ones moving on, that require, and helping them at that crucial time, you being there while a loved one is passing on, rather than shedding tears and crying at at the top of your voice. I'm not demeaning that. I do understand this is a very, very painful process, but you need to also understand from their perspective. It is their life. okay, they have done with it. You need to make sure that you're there with it. So I want to probably, if you can throw some light on that concept with respect to the past life and how it affects if the death is not.
See, past lives stay active if the death process, the processing of death, the wisdom occurring after death about why and how, and if the learning of the soul is incomplete. And so, as a past life therapist, in this kind of session, my role is to facilitate the proper processing of death, picking up all the clues, what is not expressed, and even, let's say, the physical shock in the body, which has happened and which might even till today cause some unexplainable pain. And to be a midwife for death, we can say, to occur.
Yeah.
And of course, my own life is an utter example of how past lives can be actively guiding your life. Because frankly, in my life, some of my one or maybe more of my past lives in South India took me by the hand, got me by the ticket, abandoned my apartment, leave my parents at a young age and say, we are going. And we are not going back. Knowing that, I knew I would be going for a long time. And this is what happened. So my past life from India had a stronger impact on me than my German student life.
Oh,
It did.
so it took over.
It took over. And then I came home to India and felt at home. Came to Oroville in this kind of desert with 400 people. I was like, yeah, this is it. And everybody's like, what does you want? No,
Yeah.
home. So I'm home and I'm where I should be doing. So looking back, I didn't have much choices, at certain moments in my life.
It was crystal clear.
India sort of came into my life. There was a flute concert with Hari Prasad Chaurasia, who incidentally is also very connected to Oroville. And after that, I said, I have to find a way to get there. That's it.
Respect to the wisdom, proper processing of the passing on, right, of the demise of yourself. That is very important. One of the things which I was living my life on was, and I did not understand or maybe coming to believe that, this kind of a thing could exist for me. For me, past life was like, I don't have a past life. I was in the denial for a very long time until we were in a room, and we had this very strong past life going on. We were students, and then past life was going on. I think it was more very, I would say it's a more divine experience, I would say, because there was a lot of things happening in that room. It was such a divine presence that was there. And suddenly, it was like a switch and everything came up and it was crystal clear. Started writing. And then I was like, after the session, I think I came back and I was like, I think I have a past life. I need to explore that. And I think post that, I think I've was around 3 or 4 past lives. And the integration of those lessons made me who I am. And the first past life itself, the realization was that I didn't live this life. It was just a repetition of what I did in the previous life. I was just like repeating the patterns, the words, the way that I was living, right? It was just like I was a prisoner to my previous life. And I couldn't see any change from the previous life. I haven't lived my life. That's when I realized that one, the wisdom has to be integrated, which you helped me do. And then I took control of my life to make sure that I'm living it. I'm not letting a preconceived or a tape recorder that is playing from the past dictate my path. So that's something that I think I took away from my past life. I was the most scaredest person.
Yeah.
I was such a timid, shy, and very, very scared, I would say, to even explore anything. But I think I'm glad I had the courage to explore that day, and it gave me the wisdom and the strength which I have within me, and with my previous past lives and the wisdom integrated. So I think I have more strength from within to guide me through this journey, for which I'm able to make miracles. And again, I think I also got this call to Oroville. I think it was a call. I had an intention to heal, but I didn't know where to go, right? I think it was a way of mother calling. I think mother has a way of calling people, you, come here. You, come here. So I think I got a call because suddenly everybody around me was talking about Oroville. And it's like within 2 weeks span, I had like 3 or 4 people suddenly bringing up Oroville somewhere. And I'm like, there's something for me in Oroville. I need to pick something up. And that's when I contacted and, I got into this course and everything. But after coming here, I think after making this mini visits for 7, 8 times, for the 9th time, I'm here for good. And but I've never felt at home or at peace, I would say. I think it's more about the peace of the space, right? The tranquility, the humanity that comes up with respect to people letting others be themselves rather than trying to shift them, make them, mold them into something that they desire or they are comfortable seeing. That is where I think the beauty of this place comes up. It's home for people who wants to be authentic.
Sure.
Yeah. Any myths about regression that you want to burst? Because there's a lot of regression is right now a very hip and happening topic. Not necessarily the integral regression, but any myths about regression that you would like to burst?
See, it's not about knowing, having seen some past lives, because you might be actually be burdening more. Instead of going with one problem, now you have 2 or 3 because you have these same
You
problems.
one lifetime, now you have to deal with 3 lifetimes problem.
The main point of the session is healing. So in any integral regression therapy session, 80% of the time is for healing.
Yeah.
Because they're healing on different levels. The physical healing, the pain healing, the emotional healing, the mindset shift. We want to do a complete healing so that your past life is completely at ease, at peace, ready to go home, and then there's no more any energetic impact, and only the wisdom
Remains.
is gathered, the wisdom is accessible to you for your life. That is all. So it's not about seeing some movie and then saying, oh, I was also this and that, because you're picking up the karma of that life without solving it. So you're adding to your burden. Not to be done. See, even Sri Aurobindo said in the past, there were people helping others to forget past life so that they can focus on this life and don't be confused.
True.
So don't confuse yourself with additional stuff. Only do a past life session to improve your life now, to overcome some phobias, to overcome recurring patterns which you can't explain. I see past life issues coming up a lot with people who have done counseling, who went for psychology sessions, and still things repeat. So these are typically then past life issues, because that the psychologists don't work with. So they peel off your childhood issues, and often your childhood issues are repeats from the past life, like strong phobias in childhood.
It's not from this lifetime sometimes.
It's carried forward. So of course it's good to work on this lifetime first. That is also a golden rule in regression therapy. First you do your inner child work, then if there are things remaining, you have to look at past life.
Yeah. So one thing also I understand is that, while in the session, right, you let the session decide the pace. It's never like when you go for a session, at times it's like a 1 hour session, 2 hour session, whatever. But for you, I've seen you even sit through a much longer session at one stretch just to make sure that one issue is resolved, right? And the best part is, I remember this, this is when I knew you are it, right, for me. Because in my past, I've been through many therapists, many people that I have asked help and was taking help from, and which were helping in one way or the other. But I had this pure intention to be with somebody who genuinely wanted to help, and not with an intention of any other thing, like not the ego, not the financial part, not anything. Like I wanted somebody with a pure soul to heal me. And I remember somebody very close to me, my brother and, my best friend had come here, and, you had the session with them, and, after the session, they were like about to leave, and they were like, so when should I see you next? And then you were like, hopefully never in your life. I'm like, you never hear that from anybody. Like a one shot wonder, like that one shift is enough for you to take control of your life and move forward. If there is more problems or more hurdles, yes, you can come back. But for that particular issue, I think that's it. So the way that sternness with which you said, no, you don't, that was when I was like, this is it. I found that person who can help me.
We talk out an issue which we can do in one session. And then we do this one session as complete.
What's your longest session?
5 hours.
5 hours.
But that is rare.
Yeah.
The training is, okay, you have your pre-talk, you're focusing, you're talking out your bit. That takes between 10 minutes and half an hour, and then 2 hour session. Maybe a little bit longer.
3.
Anyway, the client doesn't see the time pass, because
most of the time the client gets up, it's like 5 minutes. I had somebody say that. It's like, I think I slept for, I remember only 5 minutes. You were there for 3 hours. You're like, they don't remember it.
Yeah, time is, I mean, you work in different time zones, so the clock time is, doesn't really apply.
It's not this whole time.
Yeah, the soul time is
The soul
different.
time is different. So how does integration takes place? In a session, right? Once the past life session or any regression session has gone through, it could be a trauma, it could be a inner child. How does integration looks like?
So towards the end of the session, of course, there's integration with the inner child or integration with the past life, if it's confirmed that it's your own past life. However, sometimes dialogue is continuing, healing is still continuing. You know, a lot can have to happen in one session. Then the client might feel the need to have his inner child still near, but still chatting, still talking, still hugging, you know? So we always give the option.
Yeah.
So would you like to integrate now, or would you like to keep your inner child for a few more days? Or you would like to keep your past life for a few more days? There might be some question coming up, some wisdom to be shared, some hug is needed.
Yeah.
And
Everybody needs a hug.
the advice, of course, especially for inner child is,
Yeah.
okay, inner child is maybe a child which didn't have a chance to express, so needs to express. Or the inner child lost a lot of playfulness because of the situation at home. So experience what a child should be, experiencing playfulness, you know, keeping a rope or playing with mud or whatever is what you missed out on and which comes to mind now.
Yeah.
And go and enjoy. Bring playfulness back into your life. Bring joy. Bring sense experiences. Bring creativity back into your life. And that is also part of integration, to consciously take time apart for days, even for weeks, as much as is needed to complete yourself. Consider your playfulness as part of yourself by even acting on it.
I think joy is missing in many people's life right now with respect to thing is the inner child healing or inner child playfulness that has to come back. I think they need to invite the inner child back, the one that got scared away, the one that is hiding. I think everybody needs to explore the inner child on their own or, you know, through a session, like whenever they need. I think that is a pivotal thing for you to regain or bring back joy into your life whenever you feel that's no longer.
Usually what you enjoy is be as a child, even if it's for the few weeks at grandparents and in a village, let's say, because you live in an apartment. But even the moments where you're in nature, the moments you're you can explore, you can be a detective, or you can build a little shed or something. Whatever you enjoy as a child, it will still be your resource as an adult.
Oh.
Yeah.
Coming to the breath work, so I'd like you to explain a little bit at the basic level what breath work is and what kind of experience a person will have while they're in a breath work session. Now, how different it is from the other things which also gives you a similar experience.
So breath work means breathing strongly with music, special playlists of music. You lie down with eyes shut, breathe, focus on your breathing, and you have the music, and you bypass your continuously mental chatter and your mindset. You have it aside for a moment, and you connect deep to your inner healer. You connect to your subconscious or supraconscious. So you expand your consciousness in those moments in your own pace. It's entirely self-directed, self-healing modality. The facilitator is there to support you in your process if you ask, only then. And there's no diagnosis, there's no treatment, there's no therapy. This is, again, entirely self-healing. And so much self-healing happens in the 2 hours. So in Jiva breathwork, the breathing and the music go on for 2 to 3 hours. Many people come, they said, I've done a bit of breath work for 20 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour. And then when they do the 2 hours, they realize how different this is. Because your conscious mind can keep track. Till 1 hour, they can tick off the minutes. And you just relax with music and you breathe a bit. And it's relaxing. But after 2 hours, where you go out of your comfort zone with your breathing and you breathe as much as deep you can, a completely different process sets in. which immerses you completely in experiences of your life, your childhood, even maybe prenatal experiences or your birth,
Okay.
or sometimes also past lives come up.
It could also be that
Naturally.
nothing comes up and, nothing of those trauma level comes up. They just have a good experience and probably, have a very
Can be also beautiful experiences.
beautiful experiences or something.
Not necessarily traumatic experiences,
Okay.
but I remember
Or something out of the blue which they've never experienced.
I re-experienced my birth actually, breathwork, because of course breathing and the first breath, there are sensations that suddenly you breathe much more and you're not so much in your thinking mind. You might, by association, remember early moments.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of physical release happening, emotional release. Sometimes people meet people who passed on, let's say their grandmother, someone, and they'll have similar to regression, but now naturally as self-healing. They have a little chat with their grandmother and they feel all the love of that moment. Or sometimes people experience moments in the universe or meeting Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of
True, I think.
experiences come up. Yeah.
But I think for that, you need to be also a little bit more conscious and you have to be, you have done some level of healing on your own. People who are first timers usually have a very exotic experience or probably, flying around experience. Sometimes they even associate it to external ecstasy experience or psychedelics or something where microdosing, where that is also kind of related to spirituality or the experiences, out of the body experiences that they have. So, but that can be also done with just the music and breathing.
Exactly. Nothing external.
Nothing else is needed. Just the music and the breathing can take you to any world, right? It's amazing.
It's also specially curated music, but
Yeah, it's a curated music. It's not simply.
But people are
from your playlist.
extremely grateful.
Yeah.
To find a pure experience, which is entirely their own.
Yeah.
And not driven by chemicals.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And one other thing, I'd like to ask you is that, with respect to the session, how do you prepare them? Like, how do you prepare them pre-session, during the session? What kind of precautionary things are there with respect to during the session? What comes up or,
See, anybody can do a breathwork session for self-healing. They have to know that they are in their own self-directed process.
Okay.
And we will intervene as facilitators only to assist or to help them get up or to release some physical pain if it comes up and persists. But beside that, they have an attendant, a sitter. So by the presence of another person being there, taking care, the person breathing can let go even deeper. They don't need to be afraid that somebody will come and tip on the shoulder or any disturbance. Somebody's there with them in a kind of motherly presence.
Yeah.
And they're taken care of. Only people with major psychiatric issues, long-term depression, medical heart issues, pregnant women, and people with panic attacks and epilepsy cannot do the sessions for their own, good. For example, people with these conditions can come for homeopathy, can come for regression. Not everybody
is suited for
for the health is as the best method. True. But everybody comes out feeling good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that is very true. Can you tell me, how does integration looks like with respect to, because one of the things that you mentioned majorly was about the no intervention. It's a self-healing, but that's not the case everywhere. I think this modality has been evolved and everybody has their own version of it. My first breathwork experience, I had somebody touch me, right? And it was disturbing for me that point of time. And it wasn't needed, but it was kind of, they felt that I needed some support, but I was processing it on my own. But that kind of disrupted the thing, and somebody touched my third eye. I got very offended. Like, nobody touches your third eye, right? And that session like this. So our first thing I told you was like, don't touch. I don't like anybody. She's like, nobody touches you here. It's your own journey. And even while I was in that session, when I was a sitter also, I think he was like, it's their journey. You're just a spectator. Let them be. So I think that safe space for you to be yourself, express yourself, in whatever shape or form that you feel like, in that, and that too, the ending of the session. That's something very beautiful, because previous sessions, it was like, like 1 hour, 90 minutes, and post the session, it's like, okay, you can leave. This is the way you can go. That's how it works. Or maybe there is this integration, but it's usually like hard stop. But here, what I found is that, you let the patients be and take time as to when they want to come out. Like, how does that work from a normal?
See, after a session, that also goes for regression sessions,
Yeah.
people have dived deep into their transpersonal space.
Yeah.
Let's call it like this, yeah?
Mhm.
Space beyond their persona, early childhood, prenatal, past lives, other spaces. They need time to put back the cap of their normal mindset, conscious mind, the name, my profession, etc. They need time to put it back and to assemble new. So that time, of course, is given after the music fades out. Your time to come back, and people need time. Then once they look around, the facilitators come, have a little chat, see if some body work is required. If they have landed back, they feel their body, usually they are. But there are ways to do. If not, if there's too much floating still going on. And then we have the mandala. People can express with crayons something of their journey. And this is part of integration too. So having the experience transpose into some visual, which also is for them an anchor to return back to the experience as and when they would like to. And then there's a sharing circle, and you have, humanity speaking. Everybody's just listening with their heart. Nobody's analyzing or commenting.
It's a safe space.
It's a safe space to express and also to learn not only how your experience is, but what others are experiencing.
Since we have explored this 3 amazing modalities, I want to throw light more on the integration part. Focus a little bit more because different integration, different modality requires a different integration. But integration as a whole sometimes is being missed while a person is healing, right? So, what is integration in simple steps or simple words, if you can explain?
Integration happens through harmonization of the different parts of the being. Integration can happen through breathing, but with open eyes. Integration can happen through Surya Namaskars because it beautifully aligns all your different bodies. Integration can align in inner child work through playing out the creativity of the child. Integration can happen very much through your homeopathic constitutional remedy. That's why I like, if possible, to do both modalities. But then there are also simple steps in integration like walking in nature, singing, humming, shaking, dancing, putting some of your favorite music.
Yeah.
And there's also, of course, some more meditative energy work you can do. For example, a good simple technique, which is anyway good for any therapist to do before a session, but it's also good tactic for the client after the session, is just to be set up for a moment of meditation and breathing, just 1 or 2 minutes, and then have a simple command of asking all your energies to come back and settle back with you. All your own energies, which are spread out in the universe, to come back and settle back. You see these energies as colors, lights, shapes, returning back one by one, and then have them settle in energetic body, your body field, and then how it feels once these energies are back, and then breathe these energies through your whole body to make it a very strong experience for your whole body, your whole being, even beyond your body. So to take your time, not only to call them back, not only to see, but to anchor them back and to notice the changes once it's anchored, and then to expand it through your whole body. That is a good integration.
So this is something that I'd like to add upon. Like whenever you have an insightful experience or a modality or healing that you have gone through, the integration is very important. If you miss that part, it's almost as good as just seeing a movie and, forgetting about it with your back. So make sure integration part is as Sigrid had mentioned. And this is a beautiful modality that you can do even without any kind of healing on a daily basis. Right? Whenever you feel a little ungrounded or not with yourself, right? Always call back your energy. So this is something that
your own energy.
Your own energy, yes, your own energy. This is something that I have noticed post, meeting you, that sometimes you might have gone to some places, maybe visited some places where you felt, oh my goodness, it's so amazing. I enjoyed it so much. And you kind of, live there, or, you kind of take a little piece of that memory with you. But unfortunately, what you don't realize is that piece of your energy is there, still wanting to experience it, still not wanting to come back. So you need to call back energy from places, your own energy, from places where you have left it because you loved it so much, right? Or maybe something traumatic happened and your energy got scared and it's stuck there. So calling back your energy is a beautiful way of being whole and complete within yourself, right? Whenever you feel, not within yourself.
Before therapy session, it's also a good thing to do. So then you are the most
Dominant.
complete
Yeah.
in your own self, so that your client can be busy with his own healing and energy, and you're with your own self. And because energetic mixes create parenting issues, etc., etc., and that should be avoided in therapy, of course.
True. What is the common mistakes that people make after a big session, or what are the kind of choices that they can do with respect to, instead of those?
So healing is not just a shortcut thing, no? So if you come for a regression therapy session, if you come for a breathwork session, take a day off for integration, for really enjoying the benefit, for anchoring the benefit of your session. So it's a deep technique. A 2-hour breathing session is a deep healing.
Yeah.
2 to 3 hour regression therapy is a life-changing event most of the time. Don't have, the accounts to do 1 hour later. Don't have too many obligations, especially stressful obligations right after. Take time off for yourself.
Yeah.
To really anchor the healing and get the full benefit.
So anchoring yourself and taking some time apart, at least a day, something that is definitely needed. So how does an environment of a person assist or block an integration? Like sometimes they do want to integrate, but at times the place that they go back to, the environment that they go back to, kind of expect them to be the same old person, same wounded person. Or maybe they do enjoy being that wounded person in that environment because that is the only story that they have to tell, right? So in those cases, what do you suggest?
Take time off for yourself. Dare to take time off for yourself. India has a beautiful concept of joint family, and if it works, it's beautiful. And this is, for me, how people should be living.
Yeah.
But at times, others are too rigid, stuck up. Expectations are
Family structure a little complicated, where everybody has hands and hold on each other much more than needed.
yeah. So, but as long as you're alive, you can heal, you can change. And
As long as you're alive, the best is yet to come. You can heal.
I see in India a lot of patients with elders who have very fixed mindsets. And actually, it's better to be quite straightforward and saying that it's their mindset. They have these ideas about others, but if it's not as they expect, then they are to suffer because it's their own expectations which get disillusioned. That is all. You can't
Suffering, my concept of suffering is always that whenever you try to control something, suffering is inevitable.
Yes.
You're blocking the flow of life. And if you see, majorly the elderly people, or maybe at times even women, as parents, as homemakers, try to control everything, and that itself blocks the flow of life, and that itself accumulates a lot of things which manifest as illnesses, pain, chronic diseases, or something like that. So I think it's about trusting a soul with the wisdom that they have, right? Which is one of the things that I totally agree with you, that people have the wisdom within themselves to heal, right? You want to heal them because you think they can't heal themselves. No. Everybody has the wisdom within them. Maybe a little bit of nudge, little bit of help. That's all they need. A mirror, as you said, a mirror to hold. That's all they need. The wisdom is within them, and you don't have to take control. Likewise, mothers, parents, or caregivers, everybody has their wisdom inside them. But if you allow them to flourish, I think you have seen that with your daughter. She's an amazing. I think anybody who meets her even for a minute is mesmerized by the energy and the control and the way that she's magnificent, right? I don't have a word but to express, even for my daughter as well, being such a young age. You've met her. Yes, she speaks wisdom much beyond her age. She is by the way, if you want a life coach or a therapist or somebody to give you advice, please go to your children. They're the best. Unfiltered advice will come from them. They don't have filter as to what they will think, what society will think. Those kind of fears that you are inculcating is not there. They give you honest, pure advice. I think my daughter has been amazing with respect to giving me unfiltered advices. Sometimes a little, raw ones. She was the one who suggested that I should quit my job. But then I was like, what? Yeah, why don't you? If you're so stressed, just quit your job. I'm like, but then I thought about it. It's a very, why am I stuck on it? So whenever whenever I'm holding on to something, this is my litmus test. Is it fear or is it faith? So I always, if it could be a relationship, could be a property, it could be job, it could be anything. So I always think, is it fear I'm holding on to or is it faith? If it's fear, I let go. If it's faith, I hold on to it. Right? So that's a thing that I think me and this is the wisdom coming from a 7-8-year-old who talks about reincarnation and a lot of things that she's taught me as well. But I think she's amazing. I think the moment you let go and let them be who they are supposed to be, magic happens.
Yes.
Yeah, the more you control, it's painful for them and for you and everybody else in the process.
See, if you say that each one has to follow the path of their soul,
Yeah.
how you can control your children, how you can prescribe what their job they should be doing or what study they have to do, you cannot. You just have to be open to see who they are really.
The many children I know for a fact that, they're following certain path of taking some decisions primarily because they don't want their parents to suffer or feel sad. Unfortunately, that their happiness is linked to what their children would do. That's again karmic. That's again going to hit back in a lot of ways. Yeah. Circle back to the same thing that they've done. But hopefully, I think any parents listening to this, please, your journey is separate, their journey is separate, let them be, right? Have faith in the divine. Faith in the divine that they're supported and they're protected, right? You can't be, and you're not God. We can't control. We can't be everywhere. We can't decide or choose what's going to happen or their life path. Some things have to be. This is where your faith comes in. This is where your consciousness, your God comes in, right? So believing in God is also the fact that you should also believe that you also deserve grace and that intervention of God for your child and for you. So that's something very beautiful. So coming back to, let's go to the Orville FAQs. This is something that I want to, probably address because I've heard a lot of questions on this. So first and foremost, this is what the media says, that Auroville has no money system, free, anybody can come and get things for free or, there's no money concept. Like, how do you want to address that myth? Or if it's a reality, please enlighten.
See, the aim of Auroville is to live as a society of free beings in free exchange.
Okay.
But as long as we are not free beings, we are not there. We have put in motion a few systems to advance to this, but at present, we have an internal money system.
Okay.
And the community members bring together their collective budget for everything you see in Auroville, from forest to library to solar kitchen. Whatever's been set up and cared for is paid by the residents.
The residents.
Paid by the contribution of the residents. The income generation through guest houses, restaurants, etc., and through grants for specific project from outside. So it's not that there's a big money holding like in some ashrams. There's the government of India giving some money for education and again for specific project, but nobody is bringing together the collective budget other than the residents.
But that's for the residents only, right? The system works for the residents. But there is a money system. Is Oricon.
People come to volunteer, people come as guests, people come to stay in the area. They are all welcome to join because for me, finally, what makes Auroville is what people give from their heart, what they contribute, what they want to give. Be it that they go for 3 months volunteering on a farm or go for that they give a theater performance for free or they can also come and intern in, let's say, clothing companies and stay, but don't expect that, everybody will accommodate you for your 1 week stint. That is not possible. Come first, explore,
Yeah.
and then come back for 6 months so that you get into contributing, you get into giving, because it's also for your own dharma, actually, to just participate in the biggest collective project on the planet today. Orville is the biggest intentional community on the planet by far, in size and 60 nationalities, and also in duration of nearly 60 years.
Audible is a place for you to give, not take, right? Come here with the service mindset to fulfill your dharma. But again, if somebody is coming for few days, I think they can still come as a guest, stay in the guest houses, experience Audible, and you can volunteer. That is again for a minimum of 3 months, as you said.
Yeah.
Right? So 3 months is the minimum. You can't volunteer for a week or two. But yeah, 3 months you can volunteer. Then again, the steps, processes are a little, you can probably get to know once you're here. You have to apply for a newcomer. Then again, that takes another 1.5 years of processing, right? For you to, it's a lot of process. You can still come and enjoy and, experience healing once you're here as a guest, right? You don't need to
Participate in many workshops, learn things from pottery to farming to tree planting.
Yes,
That you can learn a lot of things because you have people from all over the world
Oh, yeah.
offering their expertise.
Again, yes. One more thing I wanted to, mention about Sundays. How is Sunday in Auroville?
Very quiet.
Anybody planning to come to Auroville, please avoid a Sunday because Sundays are usually quiet. Many activities might not be available for you. So whenever you're coming, make sure Sunday is for you to relax and enjoy, but maybe you might not be able to participate in many of the activities.
Except the breath work.
Except breathwork and few other things are also available. But Sundays are usually quite normal. So, thank you so much, Sigrid, for this wonderful time. And I think the audience would also have taken and probably able to understand and how to process the healing or steps towards healing. Thank you so much for being part of this journey with us. And hopefully there'll be many more souls that you touch, many more people that are, called to this mother's call and, probably your energy of healing. And you experience magic all over again, and many in the audience also get to experience Auroville magic as well in their life.
Thank you, Soul Talks.
Thank you so much,
for bringing this out.
Thank you so much.